for those with a keen eye or a sharp ear will also realise Becca's gone now from the stream. Done sneezing. You
Yeah,
all right,
she's
yeah?
got it.
Can't, can't
She's
hide
got
anything
a
on this.
she's got her bedtime as Becca, hasn't she? So yeah, to be fair, she's about an hour past it. So in all fairness, cheers to Becca for stopping up for us. I was late, wasn't I, this evening because of work commitments. I didn't get out to work till 8 o'clock. So yeah, she's done us a favour by sticking. So thank you very much, Becca.
Yeah, you can go and play with your toys now. That'll be one for the. I'm not going into any
Andrew,
more detail. That's the.
stop.
You see on the video. I'm just
Right, yeah.
gonna leave it open on the audio just to make people go and visit the YouTube and see Becca's toy collection in the background.
Moving on.
Right, my fix for rugby. Now it's going to start off a bit Brexity, but just bear with me because you'll see. Right, so it's multi-layered this, so you'll have to strap in. So first off, IMG scores should only be rewarding finances, not league positions. Something we've already touched on. My next one is remove the block between the NCL and Division 1 to create that football pyramid. So your NCL will be your top amateur division or like a non-league sort of thing, where then you could have your Northwest Counties, your Yorkshire League, and that sort of propping up the NCL. So that way your top amateurs on sort of earning it on the field would be in the NCL competing for League One, and that way you sort of open a pyramid up there. I'd then remove Toulouse and Catalan and put them back in the French division. Which obviously it sounds a bit Brexity, but this is why.
Andy Nigel Thompson.
So what I'd like to see, which I think would be quite useful for sort of building up the exposure of the game, is doing like a sort of a Champions League sort of thing, where we'd have ourselves, the French division, and go and try and revive the USA division again. So it'll be your top three teams from the Super League, the top French division, and the top American division. We'll go into like this sort of Champions League, and the final and then there'll be a fourth place from each of the ones given on the back of the main cup performance. So it'll be the Challenge Cup for us. So say if the top three have already taken up that spot, it'll be the other semi-finalists who get to, if that makes sense. Then they'd all sort of do a mini Champions League game, and the top four from that would then go into the World Cup Club Challenge against Australia, and that'll be on rotation between ourselves hosting it one year, France hosting it another year, America, like they're doing in Vegas and in Australia, so that's on rotation as well. That is how I think we'd fix Rugby League.
There's quite a few points there. What was your first point? I agree with that. IMG should only be financial. Yeah, reward them. Yeah, if you're doing absolutely great, reward yourselves. But competitive action should be on the field, and promotion and relegation should be there. Yeah, so that box ticked. We've covered that one. Was your next one?
Division 1.
I can't see how it works. I can't. I can't, because I think there's a lot of clubs in NCL that aren't bothered, aren't interested. I don't think. Wafbrow, Kells, Egremont, yeah, they love playing a professional team. Occasionally, Wafbrow had a few years ago when it was a League One Cup. Could it have been 17, 18, 2017, 2018? They hosted two professional sides back to back. They had Keighley and Toulouse, which I think was Toulouse's first game back in sort of the UK game. So it'd have been 2017, I think it was. And that's when they were in. That's when they used to enter the Challenge Cup. They don't anymore. Yeah, and it's a great day. Wafbrow nearly beat Keighley on what was an absolute mudbath of the pitch up there at Wafbrow, but I don't think the infrastructure is in place. Not all of the clubs. I'm not saying he couldn't at the Brow, but Egremont couldn't go up to League One. They haven't got the infrastructure. Kells couldn't go up to League One. They haven't got the infrastructure. There's a lot of teams there that just haven't got
the money going from these fixtures. Help them get that infrastructure in the future.
No. I love the romanticise of it, and obviously, the world looks at that English football pyramid where at any time, especially 3 o'clock on a Saturday, there's hundreds and hundreds of, there's hundreds of football matches being played. There's thousands of players playing. There's thousands of people watching, and the world looks enviously on at that English football pyramid, but I don't see that. I don't see that work. I don't see how it can work in rugby league, especially with the way it's all set up at the minute. Dan, are you with me on that one?
Yeah, well, I was just going to jump in because I've just had the opinion or a text from Paul Guerreri, and it kind of leads on to what you guys are saying slightly about the League One and the NCL thing, weirdly. I've just lost my WhatsApps. 1 second. We're doing this live. Oh, right, let me pull it up. So, can you still hear me? Yeah.
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 He said he would have 14 Super League teams, 14 Championship green teams, and then just grow out Champ 1. Now, how do you grow Champ 1 when there's 28 other teams playing above? Surely he's reiterating towards the amateur scene, possibly. He said he would evenly distribute all money to the clubs. He would bring back reserve rugby league for all of the clubs and also a 2-week break mid-season. I could go on. So I said, please do go on, Paul. And I'm waiting for him to get back to that one. That's interesting, Paul. I think a lot of people have thought about the 14-team structure in both divisions and growing out League One because, as we've seen over the last few years, and again, it touches on what Andy was saying, League One, in the greatest respect, it's been a bit of a nothing thing. It's just been it's been one of them, it's that league where you can grow the amateur players, like what Whitehaven are doing now, what Working have done it for years. When you get to League One, you can filter the amateurs into the semi-professional setup. So surely it with the same principle for the clubs like you were just talking about there, moving up from the NCL. These are all top amateur players. And I know the infrastructure is completely different, but in terms of on the field, I think they could hack it. I really could.
I think a few seasons ago that might have been the case if you still had your Hemels, your Oxfords, your Scholars, your West Wales, South Wales, whichever way you want to call them. But I think League One now, with the clubs that are in there, you know, you've got Midlands throwing money at it, you've got North Wales are now going to start throwing money at it. You know, we're not talking millions, we're not talking daft amounts of money, but for League One, that, you know, they're throwing you know, big money at it. And I just don't see now. I think a few years ago it probably could have been more, you know, maybe 10 years ago. I think especially if you were bringing the likes of, you know, Northampton were meant to be coming in and playing at Sixfields of where Northampton football play, and that never materialised. And Oxford and the Gloucestershire All Golds were going to become Bristol and such things like that. And I think you potentially could do that, but I think especially as, you know, I don't see at the minute with the current structure. I think if there's a plan there in place and the RFL were to put a plan there in place and go, right, you've got if they come this year and say, right, in 2030, it's going to be a 14-team Super League, it's going to be a 14-team Championship, but then we're now going to accept applications for a 12-team, a 14-team League One, and you've got 4 years to build it, then I think could a Siddle do it? You know, we're at the top of the NCL, you know, at the minute. Could a Hunslet do it? You know, a Hunslet Club Park, you know, the work Hunslet Club Park side, it's now Hunslet Amateur, you know, it's just Hunslet ARL with following their sort of merger with Hunslet Warriors. You know, is they're doing that. There'd have to be, I think that initially there'd have to be a lot of relaxations in terms of stadium and such things like that for them clubs to do it. And I don't know whether the appetite's there. We've talked about players wanting to make that step up to semi-professional rugby, and obviously a lot of them's done it out west this season. Is the appetite there down into Yorkshire and Lancashire to want to do that? I'm not 100% sure. I just don't see where it comes from. I love the idea of it and love it trying to expand and grow the game. I just don't see how it works in reality.
Wouldn't a good example be Good? Is it Good we're pronouncing it?
Cool.
They are a prime example of that. I know they're not NCL, but they've come up from their amateurs. They've built this big club. I believe they're sold over 500 season tickets now.
Yeah.
Yes, they've got money. Yes, they're signing some proper stars as well in that team. But a lot of these stars will have a background from that club and from that league and from that area. So I think in that respect, I'm not saying it has worked because they haven't played a game yet. But from what we're seeing from their social media platforms, it's looking like it could work. So,
and they're playing their games on a Saturday, I believe, as well. So
Are
you can have a few beers afterwards. Yeah. So, and then what was the next point, Andy? The Brexit means
Brexit and
Brexit.
Champions League. Yeah, the Brexit means Brexit, but with honest intentions.
I think Catalan's too integrated in the game. I think Catalan's great, I think if we are to grow and challenge as a game, you're probably not going to like what I'm saying here. I think Catalan and Toulouse should be in a 14-team Super League and have a 3-year exemption. Well, I think Catalan wouldn't need it. I think Toulouse should be brought up as Catalan were and have a 3-year exemption. Let them grow. If they could fill that stadium, that Toulouse Rugby Union Stadium, which I mean, have either of you two been over for the weekend? Have you done Toulouse?
No, I'm too tight.
Sorry, yeah, I did Toulouse, but not at that stadium.
Not at that stadium, but yeah. Toulouse could massively bring something to this game if it's allowed to. Really,
so
really
let me ask
good.
you this. Can you name another 3 French Rugby League teams?
Villeneuve, Lesignan and Pia.
Are you Pia?
Yeah.
Not London.
I was just about to say what Jordan said for them 3 teams, yeah.
And can you name some other sort of North American Rugby League teams besides Toronto Wolfpack?
Besides Toronto.
Besides Toronto.
Ottawa.
That never got off.
Are they still going?
I couldn't North America, no. And
so this is my argument here. So this is why I'm saying this is where you expand it, get these leagues under the RFL banner, get this competition under the RFL banner, and then that way you sort of, the RFL's expanding its roots. You're sort of picking up more fan base from the French and American divisions as well, watching a game. Because let's be honest, the Americans, no matter what it is, they go full on with it, don't they? The lunatics.
Yeah.
All you got to do is look at the Super Bowl, everything like that. So straight away, you're probably going to get that sort of American sort of sprinkle on rugby league there. When you're going there, it'll feel like an event. Is it fair to say when you were going up against, like, when the French teams are coming to, also when you come like Toulouse, come to Barrow or Haven, what fans are they bringing? And that's not a dig at their fan base. That's because they're having to do that week in, week out. That's a lot of money to spend on traveling from country to country. If it feels like an event, they've got to come in the numbers, and it'll feel this fixture actually means something. This is something different to the game, rather than we've got half a stadium here, because like they'll probably all pick one fixture to come over for, and it won't be a Barrett, it won't be a Haven. It'll probably be the biggest, it'll probably be a probably whatever it is, like a sort of the fixture for the grand final, whatever.
No, for me, I don't think the travelling fans for a club like that it's really fair. How many Huddersfield fans will travel? How many Salford fans travel to the games in their country now? They don't bring a mass amount of away fans. I'm not picking on them clubs specifically, but I'm just using it at the top of my head. I think in terms of French rugby, right, I don't think I give it enough credit as well. I've spoke to a few fans that have travelled down over the last few years, and a lot of fans that have gone down for a weekend rather than for the game. And they've gone to union games and league games, just in France, and they turn up in their thousands. It's pretty big.
It's huge.
And I think it's bigger. It's bigger than what I think a lot of English fans, rugby league fans, expect. And even they were shocked telling me the story. Like, they turn up in their robes and they get the drums are out and the trumpets are out, and it's a proper event, and it's a big thing over there. And I think if they can integrate that into English rugby league, I'm all for it. I know what you're saying. I know it's an expense and stuff, and other things that come with it. But you credit where it's due. They grew that sport out there, probably where the English game needed use it as an example. They've took it by the horns and grew it, and have we? Probably not. Whose fault is that? Is it the RFL's fault? I'm not sure, but is it IMG? You could blame a lot of things, but France have done it. So I think they've earned the right to bring their sport and bring their fans over here.
And also, it's cheaper to get to Toulouse than it is to bloody Cornwall.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, yeah.
Well, right. So back to the France thing, right? You don't bring them over, do whatever. How many times have we tried with a Hemel or with a different London team or this Cornwall or anybody else down south, really? And they've had money thrown into them to help them grow. And then 100 people rock up and they sell 25 season tickets and stuff. Yet they keep throwing them hundreds of thousands of pounds to help that club develop. And it doesn't work out. They go bust. Next, try again. They just keep failing. So
because it's the same.
Anyway.
It's the same thing over and over that we keep doing.
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's
why
not
not let
expanding
fans
a
have a
game.
vote?
We're throwing money at a team rather than a league. As for like the whole, like
Yeah.
if we did the sort of the Champions League thing, it puts focus on leagues instead. So like I said, you sort of like you might sort of find a soft spot for a team that's not Toulouse or Catalan, or you find it sort of a second team in a North American sort of team. Like a lot of people like watching the NRL. They'll have a team that you have a soft spot for in the NRL, or with your state of origin, you'll have a side that you prefer to win.
Up the
You
road.
know, and that could be the same. That could be the sort of the same here. You know, like they might just go, oh yeah. Can you imagine? I'm just going. So say for example, you have a ridiculously good cup run, Whitehaven Jordan, like a freak season. You make it to the semi-final, right? The top three of that semi-final are already the top three of the Super League. So you're now in this cup competition going against some of the best teams in the world at this point, and you get to do events that you wouldn't normally get to do week in week out. And imagine the money that comes with that, and the TV deal that comes with that as well.
It's like when Wigan football won the FA Cup all them years ago and they were playing Europa League football in the Championship, weren't they? Yeah. Yet again, I see the romantic element of it. I really do see the romantic element of a Champions League style. And, I mean, they tried it a few years ago. There was an Anglo-French thing which sort of fell on its face. You know, there was 2 teams involved from the Championship, 2 teams involved from France. And I don't think it helps as well that the French play winter rugby. I am right in saying that. I think I'm right in thinking that that they play. It's a winter season over there compared to rugby over here. So obviously, something would have to change. Obviously, with that, like I say, I see the romantic element of it. The RFL can't get its own backyard sorted. Never mind getting French Rugby League and US Rugby League sorted as well.
Yeah, no, it's fair. But for me, that's the thing. I am going with pure rose tinted glasses and like the absolute sort of like you said there, the romance. But it's not why rugby's on its ass because there's no romance in the game anymore. It just feels sterilised.
No, I don't. It's not the worst idea I've heard. Let's say that.
But it's up there.
One more points you got, Andrew?
No, that's it for me. We'll go into Mr. Weir's fix.
Mine is something I've had a rant on before, and I feel like a lot of these sort of things we're talking about is trying to build it from roots up. I feel like it's got to be roots down. I feel like the top end of the game's got to be sorted before we even consider sort of trying to work its way down. Mine is we need a proper international calendar. We need to know what is happening with England, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, France, Wales, Lebanon, Papua New Guinea, Cook Islands. We need to know what's happening with all these sides years in advance. Just been having a quick look. As we were talking before, you said about doing some notes, and I'm like, well, I know what I want to bring up, so let me double check. The last time there was a 4 Nations was 2016. So the last major tournament outside of a World Cup where the top nations were involved was 8 years ago. And, the Tri-Nations was there. That was it 2007 before it became the 4 Nations. And yeah, there's no foresight, there's no planning. Becca mentioned it earlier on about the publicity and everything for the international games. If you can get a proper international calendar sorted, and there's rumours this season, of obviously, England or Great Britain were meant to be going to Australia. And apparently that's now changed and they're going to come over here, which would be great because the Aussies haven't been over here for a test series in God knows how long. But we're, less than 12 months away from these games being played. We've got no idea who, where, what, times, we should be promoting the beep out of that. And we're just too busy arguing or anything like that. We need to get this international calendar sorted. What is the pinnacle of football? It's the World Cup and the European Championships, your Copa America. What's your pinnacle in your rugby unions? It's a 6 Nations. Well, the World Cup, your 6 Nations, your Rugby Championships, even the Team Internationals that's go on now. There's just so many games being played. Whether and the British Lions, the British Lions are playing next year. And I'm not a rugby union fan. I will not sit and watch a club game of rugby union. I couldn't think of anything worse than watching Harlequins versus Saracens. But every 4 years, either when the World Cup's on or the 2 years after that, in that 4-year cycle the British and Irish Lions are on, I will sit down and watch a game of rugby union because it's international. You know it's the pinnacle of the game. And at the moment, the NRL is trying to sell the pinnacle of the game as state of origin. But outside of Australia, New Zealand, and over here, who's interested if Queensland and New South Wales are playing each other? No one. But if you can market the world champions, which obviously I know Super Bowl have, you mentioned Super Bowl earlier, the Americans, they've got a habit of calling themselves world champions when there's only themselves a bloody player of the sport. But if we need to be able to market, and yet again we're a minority sport trying to do a world game, and so you may have some issues until you can get some more major things in there. But I just feel like if you can get an international calendar sorted where even then, France have dropped out of hosting the bloody next World Cup. Was it 2027, 2028, whatever it is? But there we go again. We don't even know when the bloody World Cup's meant to be. Do you know what I mean? There's no talk about who it's going to be and such things like that. I just feel that as a game, Super League and the NRL need to get themselves together, and this International Rugby League board that is as much use as a chocolate fireguard needs to get together and market and get together a proper international calendar that we can market and get people involved. You want to Eddie Hearn, there's talks about the Hearns getting involved. Give Eddie Hearn a Rugby League World Cup. Get him to market that, because that's where your money's going to come in, and that's what's going to bring in and secure Rugby League's future.
Yeah, I can't pull that apart. I completely agree with it. It's even right down to Eddie Hearn. I thought when that sort of rumour was floating about a good few years ago, I thought, that'll be cracking. Get him in. And he has a bit of showmanship with it. He'll bring some neutral boxing fans over, to the game, and they'll either like it or they won't. They might just go, oh yeah, well, I'll give that another bash at some point. But yeah,
the Hearn thing is a big thing. Look what he's done to darts. Right, darts is a prime example. It's a boring pub sport. Let's be honest. I play it on a Thursday. You watch it on Sky. My God, it gets you emotional. It's incredible what they've done to it. And pool, even snooker. Snooker's a bit boring, set in its ways. He's doing things with that sport now to jazz it up. He's getting rid of. He's just changing the rules on it and stuff, and it gets exciting to watch. He can literally take anything and make it good. If you can do it with darts, you can do it with anything. Anything.
Look at 20 years ago. They were playing in the PDC. But even so call it even longer. 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It was a pub sport where there were supping pints on stage and there were there was supping, there was smoking on stage, and it had that it was a working men's club game that occasionally had a bit of telly coverage. And then the likes of Phil Taylor and Eric Bristow and such things like that. But no, we want to be a proper sport. We need to move on. And they took it, they jumped, and it was a bit of a struggle initially. But then look, they've gone from the Circus Tavern where there's a couple of thousand people in, or maybe 1,000 people in, if that. They've now gone to Ali Pali, where you can get 3,000-4,000 people in. The winner of the 2025 World Darts Championship, which is the one that starts at the end of 2024, but next year's this one that's coming up in a few weeks, the winner gets £500,000. For 3 weeks' work, £500,000 for 3 weeks' work. It's mental what they've done for the game, and we're not expecting an overnight, and it hasn't been an overnight success in darts. But yeah, I feel if you can get someone who can grab hold and just market it, because that's all they've done with darts. They've marketed it, and it's what they're doing with snooker. They've marketed it, and they've got into especially with snooker, they've got into a big country like China, where there's 1 billion people, and the World Championship final, they'll have 250 million Chinese people watching it. It's mental, and I just feel like we need someone who can come in here who knows what they're doing with sport, but knows it's entertainment and such things like that, who can grab hold of that, get a proper, there's nothing against the Super League and the NRL still, setting the fixtures and getting it all in place, but get someone who knows how to market it. Get the Hearns in, whoever it is, get someone in who knows how to market a game, and let's get this game spread and let's grow this game of Rugby League. We call it the greatest game at all, and for its product at times, it really is, but it's stuck in the shadows behind these other sports, and until we can grow and get a proper plan in place, we're going to continue being here.
Any more?
Get rid of IMG.
And bring back the Biff.
No, bring back the beef. But in terms of the IMG stuff, obviously, just going back to that before we do move on, I understand why they've done it. I just think it's been implemented badly. I think it's been. I understand. Yes, you've got to have standards in place, and I feel like it replaces the old minimum standards where the clubs are marking their own homework. This is proper audited stuff, but yeah, I think the reward should be financial reward and not competitive reward in terms of on the field promotion and relegation decided essentially by a clipboard. I think financial reward definitely, performance reward no.
Penny, your turn to fix again.
Right. So mine was away for. It has to be IMG related, does it? Just rugby related.
Just whatever you think will fix again.
So I was thinking this year, over the last few years, what's been a main talking subject? What's been a main thing that you can pretty much guarantee we'll talk about week in, week out? And it's referees. It's the officials of the game. Now, I understand that they are limited on numbers and they are struggling to get officials in. In terms of what they do on the pitch, I think a few things need to change for me until they can pick up their levels. I've heard stories, and I won't name names, of there's courses that have been put on for referees to improve, and for whatever reason, these courses have been cancelled. They don't have time for it. Move on. How is a referee meant to progress and get better at his job if he can't get trained to the next level? Anyhow, so on that note, scrap the 6 again. Why? Because it's a matter of opinion of the referee. And if a referee can quite consistently do his job competently, then that rule shouldn't be in control of him, if that makes sense. And I think it's a referee's opinion if it's 6 again or not. And I just don't think it's fair. So that's my first one. The captain's call as well. I kind of enjoy that rule, but I think it's only going to work for televised games. So I don't really think it'll affect the championship as such. So a captain could dispute the decision with the referee, but how's he going to get proof if it's not on TV? We don't know. And on that note as well, I think, like the NRL, once the numbers are good and the training levels are better, there should be 2 referees on a pitch. Especially now, it's definitely in Super League. Maybe not so much in the Championship, but the game has progressed so much. We've seen over recent years when they do the World Club Challenge Cup, and we see that the British teams are matching these Australian teams and at times beating them now. Why can't we have 2 refs over here? What makes us different to them that we can't have 2 referees? Thoughts? I've got one more after this, by the way.
I agree. I think, especially the point you touched on there with the courses as well. If there's no reviews or anything like that, or sort of going over mistakes, where's the benefit? Where are they going to learn from the mistakes, and where are we going to get sort of because let's be honest, like a consistent referee improves the game, the flow of the game, the spectacle itself, and it takes the heat off them, doesn't it? And also, yeah, the idea with 2 referees on board with that as well, really, and the captain's challenge. Jordan?
I'm on board with the captain's challenge. I'm really on board with the captain's challenge. I feel like it's something. It's coming into more and more sports, isn't it? Tennis has Hawkeye. Football's got VAR. Cricket's got Hawkeye and the third umpire and sort of stuff like that. In the NFL, you can throw a flag if you want to challenge. You can review a call. So I think now we're becoming more and more technological as sports, and are quite happy with interference from the person who's not the man in the middle or the woman in the middle, whoever it may be these days. I'm really on board with the captain's challenge, and I feel that's something that should come in at the earliest opportunity.
But in Super League, though,
I feel it's got to be in Super League, because obviously I don't feel like it at the moment. It could never be brought in Championship at League One level, because the simply enough the footage isn't there, the camera footage isn't there, and such things like that. So yeah, it's got to be fully professional. And now all games are being broadcast in Super League, although I think some of the cameras need to be brought up. I think we've seen from some of the games that were streamed last year that the way they were, some of that wasn't the best. So I feel like if you're going to do that, you need full similar. Some of the NRL camera shots they're getting, some of the picture quality is amazing. It's like 8K sort of stuff. And I'm not saying you need 8K picture quality. What I'm saying is you need it to be, the camera that's in the stands needs to be the same quality as the one that's, on it needs to all be the same quality. And I don't think it's been that at times, sort of, this season, especially when it's, as that ball touched the line. Well, I can't really tell, because it's starting to get pixelated when we zoom in. So yeah, but I feel like it can only be at a Super League level. I don't feel you can bring it in And I think some, fans would be happy with that. I think you can understand that if your game's not being on TV, it's not going to be there. But in Super League, all the games are going to be shown live, TV, whatever it's got to be there. So I would bring that in, and I would bring that in as soon as you can. In terms of referees' performance being reviewed, obviously you've talked about the courses and such things like that being sort of cancelled. I spoke to Ian Smith, and he said about the sort of the performance review that does go on, and I've spoken to local referees, and they've gone about how games are reviewed and how they're expected to review their own games and sort of such things like that. So I think that takes on anyways. We probably need more men and ladies in the middle to continue pressing up. And I know because the progression, and I spoke with Ian Smith about his progression, and it was probably hard back then to get noticed. But I think at the minute it's probably going to be easier to sort of get noticed and potentially have that progressive pathway, and there's going to be more in place for that now. So I just feel like we need more consistency, and then that goes on to my point in terms of 2 referees. I'm going to go no, because I feel if you want consistency, you only get consistency if there's one person making a decision. Because you've mentioned there about 6 again, how it's someone's opinion or matter of opinion. The way I look at a high tackle could be the way you look at a high tackle, and it shouldn't be, in terms of a match official or something like that. But my tolerance on certain things, for example, my tolerance on offside could be I'm happy with a foot being on the line, and yet again, these are all laws of the game, so it shouldn't be. But you all know, everyone is subjective, everyone is different. My idea of, aggression or such things like that, or the way I'm going to be spoken to, could be different to what someone else is going to be, and I feel like you're not going to get that consistency if you've got 2 different officials in the middle, especially in a game as fast paced as rugby league. Obviously, in cricket and such things like that, it's obviously different but I think the game is completely different. Where so I think it should be down to one main person in the middle, but then that's when the captain's challenge and sort of that comes in, where you then got that there's an opportunity to review fact, because it's video cameras and such things like that. That's where you're going to get your consistency, rather than I think from 2 officials being in the middle.
Your next point,
right.
Tom?
2 more things to touch on. I know we're running short on time. One is I've got a few friends that they want to get involved, because all we ever talk about is rugby league, let's be honest. But for the most part, these are football fans. And one thing they always ask me is, why do we have a grand final? Like, what's it all about? Why do we have playoffs? Because they watch a lot of football. And I get it. From their point of view, why would you play a massive league season, win the league, and nothing's really thought of it? It's all about a playoff. It's like, well, you wouldn't see Man City, Liverpool go smash the Premier League and then go and do a playoff. I know it's worked for years in Super Bowl, and it's a very Americanized thing, and it's always been a thing in Super League. And I didn't really know how to answer it. I do think that a league winner in Super League, it isn't they get a shield. Oh, thanks, but it's all about a grand final, and it's just a bit. I don't know. It's a good point, but I don't know how to answer it. What would you say at that?
Yeah, you're big fancy trophies to the grand final. It's not fair. I agree. Like, you're winning the league means nothing.
Yeah,
you could finish 3rd or 4th or whatever else, and then win the grand final, and you're the dog's bollocks. It's daft. Don't make sense.
I never forget Leeds Rhinos finishing. Was it 5th, 6th? Was it twice? Did it? And then went and won.
Yeah, twice won it from 5th.
It's like, imagine Aston Villa winning the league last year after finishing 4th, and then to go and win the big finale. Just doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah, not bored with it.
I like the grand final. I think I
like
love that.
the grand final.
It. Yeah,
I'm on board. I like it, but he's got a point, and I don't really know how to answer it.
Yeah, I think in Super League it's got a place. I think I think now that it's been in place that long, that you couldn't just go back to a sort of a first past the post system sort of thing. But I feel like, I mean, and it works how I think it currently works in the Championship and League One, that the league winners, well, what would be in the Championship, the league, we'll stick to League One, that the league winners go up automatically, and then there's a grand final for another promotion place. But even then, that's going to get rid of now, because there's going to be, well, not this season, but the season after, there's going to be middle eights between the Championship and League One. So I think they're going away from a system that works. So yeah, I think outside your lower divisions, and it's the way it works in football. Well, no, you know, your league winners get promoted, and then there's a playoff final, a grand final between, you know, sort of playoffs. I think it works well in them sort of that, but I think in Super League, I see both sides of it. I just feel like if you take the grand final away, which I'm not saying they would or they wouldn't, if they take a grand final away, you're losing one of your big events, and sort of, you know, we're talking about publicity and such things like that.
Maybe
The
should be
final
like
point.
the Champions League to give the grand final a bit of purpose.
So my final point is one of mine, and I'm a massive fan of attacking rugby league. I love seeing points after tries after the rest of it. Bring back the bonus point. I love it. People hate it's Mr. Marmite, isn't it? I know people don't like it, but especially now where you get to these levels where you see in the say the championship, right? You're going to get 2, 3, 4 teams that you know are going to dominate. They're going to turn up and stuff you 30, 40, 50 nil every week. What if that team getting stuff could pick up a point just for putting 3 or 4 tries in anyway? It keeps them going. When you've lost the game at half time, you've still got an incentive in that second half to go and do something. And for little things like that, I'm a fan of the bonus point.
My only issue with it is how many points to get for a win.
Well, it'll have to be 3.
That's what I mean. It was always 2, wasn't it? So a draw was the same sort of result as coming in with 12 points. So they've got to do it 3, 2, 1. 2 for a draw, 1 for the.
How are you doing your bonus point? How are you doing it? Losing by so many or scored in so many tries?
Either or. For me, I'd do it on scoring just to give that losing team an incentive to go on. It can bring in you can look at the match fixing side of it a little bit. I get, you know, like if a team needs another team to get a point, they can just set back. They've got a 40-point lead, we'll back off. But one of them, innit?
Yeah, I'd bring it in for scoring so many tries in a game. That's the way I think rugby union does it. I'd bring it in that way. I'd losing by so many for me, you know, because that's when you get teams knocking 2 points over when they're 14 points behind. No, scoring so many tries, definitely bring it in that way.
So I'm going to go back on. You mentioned attacking rugby there, sort of thing with the sort of doing the bonus point. But another thing I like to see return, sort of, because I thought it was a bit exciting when the sort of terms of attack was the free play rule. So for those who don't remember what that was, say if there was like the opposition knock on you, pick the ball up, you're seeing people sort of just pulling off all this mad stuff they wouldn't normally do. Because say if they made a mistake, did a forward pass or give the ball away on that first attempt, it just went back and it was just the restart of the tackle count sort of thing. So you go back and just have a scrum instead. So I'd like to maybe see that back and just see if that brings up a bit of chaos, a bit of excitement back to the game.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I'd bring back the free play rule. I think. But talking about rules and laws, etc., and such things like that, it's something else that I'm not going to go too much into. But that's something else I'd sort as well. I mentioned obviously earlier about international rugby league and an international calendar, bringing a standard set of laws. I don't see how we, as a game, especially the one that's in the nicest way possible, is as small as we are, can have 3 different sets of laws depending on where you play the game. I don't see how you can have games that obviously, you know, the Aussies bring in laws and then we adopt them later on, or we bring in laws which the Aussies will ignore or bring in or adapt later on. And then when we play in international games, it's a hybrid of the two. Get them all in the bin, pick one standard set of laws, NRL and Super League meet post-season, you know, both seasons run at the same time, and then do, you know, later on, you know, such things like that. Then, right, well now, you know, from the effect of the 1st of January, these, you know, this is going to be done, or this is going to be done, and such things like that. So, yeah, bring back the free play rule, absolutely, and bring one standard set of laws in as well.
Penny, anything else to add?
It's hard to disagree with that, isn't it, really? So, yeah, I'll go with that. A polite nod of the head for the hour.
So that's it. That's us fixed rugby league. You're welcome.
See you later.
It's the second time we tried to escape from us.
Where do I pick my check up? God, I've just fixed rugby league. There's got to be some money in it somewhere, surely.
Oh, the washing pile appeared again then. Oh, magic.
Wash your clothes, you tramp.
It's the kids' stuff. It needs to go in the wash. It's just let it go in the wash.
Not heard of washing baskets, like?
Yeah, it's on top of a washing basket. With some bath stuff and yeah.
Scruff. Get it washed. Come on.
No, Mrs. Fit. Kangaroo court. See, I've I had you focused on your little sort of projects on how to fix Rugby League. You forgot what your kangaroo courts, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw you under the bus, Dan. Kangaroo court.
Oh, go on then. What, me now?
Yeah, go on.
You've done your homework. Why don't you start with your kangaroo? I ain't got one. I have to think of something.
No, you better think on your feet then.
My courtroom's empty.
No, not having it.
I'm going to put Becca Thompson in kangaroo court for having toys. Toys in a bedroom. Like a little child. There you go.
Where do you think the toys belong?
You'll have to watch the YouTube video to find out what toys are we referring to.
Absolutely smut, this, isn't it? Shocking stuff. Jordan, since Dan's copped out.
He's trying to think of a reason to make me fucking shit out.
No, I'm not. Salford.
You dropped an F-bomb. Oh, go on.
Needing a £500,000 advance. I know if there's anyone, I shouldn't be talking about financial issues, but needing a £500,000 advance on their central distribution. I'm not particularly having a go at Salford, obviously, but I'm thinking more about the financial sides of the game, that we're looking at IMG and sort of such things like that. And obviously, that was all picked up on last year when the first indicative gradings come out, that Newcastle, who essentially were going to the wall, were marked better than London. And then Halifax, who obviously had their own financial issues, somehow improved their finance score. And then now we've got and I put this in quotation marks, so-called, because I don't want to disrespect Salford, but then you've got a so-called elite club needing a £500,000 advance on the money they're going to get for the season to ensure that they get through the off-season. And like I said, I'm put Salford up there as sort of as the kangaroo court, but I think it's just the financial state of the game that it's something that needs sorted pretty soon. And people are always going to say, well, the private businesses, they should be run better. Yeah, they probably should. But if you've got clubs going to the wall, for in terms of what was Whitehaven and Halifax's point of view, potentially going to the wall for not a lot of money. I just feel like as a game, and it's something that we come across to, that probably relates to a lot we've talked about tonight. It's the exposure, it's the publicity, it's driving people, companies, businesses, engagement to the game. That's going to help us financially in the long run. And I feel like if you can do that, that's probably going to stop the issues that we're seeing. So my kangaroo court's Salford, but more probably the sort of state of the financial state of the game. And it seems to be every off-season there's at least one club potentially having financial issues. And I just feel like we need to start moving away from that if we do ever want to grow as a game. We need to get ourselves on a sound financial footing.
Yeah, I agree. Don't be throwing stones in that class house of yours, John.
No, and that's why I said I'm not the person to be talking about financial issues, obviously, with the issues that Whitehaven's had over the last few years. But I just feel like as a game, we need to be doing a lot more to ensure that this. Yeah, and I get it that these clubs are private businesses at the end of the day, and there's a lot of clubs that look particularly healthy out there. But if you were to look at profit or loss and accounts, they're just being held up by wealthy benefactors. And I feel like that's the way that sport is. I get it, but I feel like as a sport like Rugby League that we need to stop being so reliant on handouts, whether that be your financial handouts or such things like that. I feel like, especially for clubs like Salford where they're renting their ground, I feel like the opportunities are limited to do that. So I feel like we need to start trying to bring more finance into the game, and I feel like a lot of what we've discussed tonight across these two parties going to be it could help a lot with that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. Obviously being a bit cheeky there with that, but you expect a Super League club who've got that income, got the like the TV money and everything like that. They're meant to, them top teams are meant to be the sort of the bar of where you need to be. So how can you expect a Championship Club League One club to be a well-run sort of thing when you can't even do it in your top division? It's embarrassing. And yeah, I completely agree. Shit houses.
I didn't call them shit houses.
No,
It's
I did.
it's the irony that Barrow go dual reg with Salford, and the likes of Ryan King signed for Barrow to get his Super League experience when he goes over to Salford to help them out, get some players on the pitch. We've seen it. We've seen it with was it Leeds and Fev, wasn't it? And Fev were giving Leeds players when Leeds was short. Could
Luke
you
Briscoe.
imagine?
Yeah, was it Luke
Yeah,
Briscoe that was playing? And then he ended up getting a permanent deal, didn't he? So yeah,
it's mad.
we've seen it.
Could you imagine if Ryan King went over to Salford to help him out on his dual reg and then got offered a
Don't be talking
contract?
it into existence. Don't be doing it. It'll happen, won't it?
Just Penny with his massive ball?
Oh,
See you, mate.
right.
Go on then, Andy.
So mine, because I can't think of anything to be spiteful about. Well, I can. That guy who wins for the side, but I'm not going to mention him again because he's a dick. I'm giving a special recognition instead. So it's to your sponsor, Cloud Competitions. That's all
Hold
nice
on,
thing there.
just before, and you can
No.
be as nice as you want. Hold on. No, you've just called Penny for not doing for not being able to think of one or copping out, and then you're copping out.
Yeah, never met a hypocrite. This is what happens when you get all the editing powers and the hosting powers and that, Jordan.
This is a special.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why I went last.
This
Well,
is
just because I didn't want you to be nice. I wanted you to out people.
This is a special for the YouTube viewers. Get on YouTube.
That one. So it's inappropriate, Jordan. So yeah. Anyway, your sponsor. I was trying to be nice.
You can be nice as you want.
Sponsor, but if you don't want me to look after him, Jordan,
No,
that's
go
fine.
on.
Yeah, so I've seen them giving out 100 plus selection boxes around Keswick today, sort of boosting the mood there. But they're also on the build up the 25 days before, on the build up to Christmas, just doing some donations as well to some good causes, are they? So I thought, leading to Christmas, I thought that's just a brilliant touch. So yeah, well done there.
Yeah, well done to the Cloud guys, George and the team. They've been a real, it's been. I mean, there's a lot of these competition sites took over the last few years. Obviously, I think it massively started during sort of COVID, didn't it? Where people were doing Facebook raffles and getting money in via PayPal, potentially when they shouldn't have been. Move on quickly. But
Was that a confession?
No, I was too busy spending money on them. But in all fairness, a lot of them obviously sprung up just before or obviously in and around COVID, and people trying to make more money. I'm looking at you, Dan. With sort of such things, such things like that, and fair play to them. Quite a few of them took off, and obviously there's quite a few involved in and around. Obviously the Cumbrian Rugby League sides, obviously Cloud, as you've mentioned, obviously Bounty we've had at Whitehaven as well, and Northern Competitions, who's now involved at all three at sort of some sort of level. Obviously, probably a bit more at Barrow and Workington, but I know he's Ryan's done some business sponsorship at Whitehaven this season. Speed competition, which I think is one that's based down your way as well, guys. I think he's done some stuff for some sponsorship. I think he's got involved. I think it's sort of Mill and Barrow way that he's involved with James Newton, whoever's running that. So there's a lot of them, and it's good to see that. Just not just Cloud, but obviously Bounty and Northern. A lot of these guys, it's about putting money back into their local communities, and I sometimes say, people always complain about Northern competitions. Oh, you're on holiday again, you're spending my money and such things like that. Well, yeah, that's how he's earning his money. Fair play to him. Crack on, do what he wants. But there's, like I said, there's a lot of them that's putting their profits back in, which Ryan's doing at Northern, Calvin and Leanne's doing at Bounty, and George and the team's doing it at Cloud. The three that obviously.
I think we've seen Vantage competitions as well doing the same at Barrow.
Yeah, so like I say, there's like I say, I mean, I'm just mentioning the ones obviously I know sort of that are based up here out west and such things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of them where all these profits are getting reinvested into the local communities, and it's great to see because it's great to see that they want to get involved with local sport, and especially the rugby league side as well. I know Cloud's got a lot to do with Workington Reds football as well. I think that they're the main shirt sponsors for Reds this season. So to be able to see the lads do that after only being there sort of 18, 24 months, I don't think they've been there 2 years yet. So the fact that they're able to do so much so quickly shows that they're finding success and they're able to put the profits back into local community, whether that be within the community or through its sporting clubs.
I agree. Should we go and shamelessly plug some social media accounts now?
Go on then.
Yeah. Follow us on X or Twitter at OSBallsRL. Facebook, Odd Shitballs. Give us a like on
Andy,
there.
Andy, is this you closing up the show?
This is me reading out the socials, like I just said there.
But
Shameless
this is what you
some
do. This is
socials.
what you usually do at the end. This is the end, is it?
Well, yeah, I'm getting to the point. Yeah, why?
All right, I've got my new kangaroo court. My new kangaroo court this week is Andy Thompson for forgetting to do this week's trivia answers.
Oh, whoa,
Wow.
wow.
Wow. I'm the host. I can do the editing. Well, guess what? Edit this. Yeah. I've got the answers to last week's trivia, which you completely forgot about. Wow. The sponsors won't be happy with that one, Andrew.
So yeah, TikTok, odd.shit.balls. YouTube, the Odd Shitballs Podcast. Speakpipe.com, it's Odd Shitballs Podcast. Email osbpod@hotmail.com and our website osbpod.podbean.com. Now time for some damn pins trivia. Right.
Answers to last week's trivia. I'm just trying to scroll through and find a question.
So you've had a little paddy there.
He hasn't even got it prepared.
What a pointless bitch fit that was.
Who captained Cumbria when they played England on the 3rd of October 2010 at the Recreation Ground? Now, for this one, to give the question a bit of context, I'm going to hand you over to Jordan Weir.
So do you want me to give the answer first, or do you want the context first?
Context.
Okay, so the context.
I know you know the answer.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I practically nearly gave it to Andy on a plate last week, and he still didn't get it to the last second. Stop! Don't! I know you've got editing tools, so you can do what you want. But no, yeah. So the context was obviously in June 2010, 2nd of June 2010. Obviously in Whitehaven and obviously the surrounding villages and such things like that. We had the shootings where the gunman went on and killed 12 people. One of them 12 people was Gary Purdom. And Gary, for those who don't know, which I'm sure a lot of them will, but Gary was a local player, up here, played for Whitehaven and Workington, started his career at Egremont, but yet again was one of them that, was just a proper community bloke. Everyone knew him. He had his farms and such things, which I think was just outside of Gosforth. And he was in his farm one day. I think he was cutting bushes. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But he was, and he was one of them that was fatefully shot on that day. And it was a community at the time that was still in sort of mourning. I think sort of 10 days, 2 weeks before that, there was a bush crash that happened coming from Keswick School. And there was 2 kids lost in that day. So I remember over the night before that, so a couple of days before that, and there was balloons being let off in the memory of the two young kids who had passed away. So it was a community that was still in mourning, and then obviously this happened and major international news. And so the context was it was a memorial game played in Gary's honour, and the answer, if you're happy for me to give it away, Penny, the answer was his brother Rob Purdom, who was captain Cumbrian on that afternoon, former England international, former Whitehaven player, but at the time was playing in Super League for it'd have been Harlequins or London Broncos. He captained Cumbria, Paul Crady's Cumbria, I believe, against England on that famous 12-all draw at the Recre.
There you go. Beautifully put that as well, Jordan. Beautiful.
Yeah, I remember, mate. It's one of them you'll never remember where you'll never forget where you were when you heard it, and I dread to think what it'd be like now in terms of the age of proper social media of where we are now. But there was sort of them rumours had started, and you see it, you see aesthetics all the time on Facebook. There's a man going around in a van, or there's a wall, there's a mark on my wall. Is someone going to come and try and nick me dog or something like that? But there was nowadays that's what it's sort of like. But there's sort of rumblings on social media. There's a gunman on the loose in Whitehaven. You go, all right then. But then it started becoming, more people's talking about this. There's something going on here, and within half an hour, it was Sky News, it was local news, it was keep your windows shut, lock your doors, and such things like that. And now it was one of them days you'll never forget, and obviously a day that changed Whitehaven, West Cumbria completely forever. There was a spotlight on West Cumbria which we probably have never seen and probably won't see ever again. It was a horrible time, and I remember going down into the town. I'd only been about I was turning 16, just 16 a couple of weeks later. So, sort of finishing school and such things like that. I remember going down into town next day and going and laying some flowers on the taxi rank. It was one of them. Like you say, it's a moment you'll never ever forget. People say, remember, where were you when Michael Jackson died, or where were you found out when the Queen died? For around here, it's where were you when you heard about that day? And it's always something it's in our memories up here in West Cumbria when that date ever comes round. Sorry, we've gone quite serious there. Sorry. Sorry,
I don't really sort of want to cheapen it with like sort of trying to move on sort of swiftly. No, you're right. It's sort of a brilliant sort of nice way to sort of mark a horrible tragic event, really. And like you touched on there with the social media side as well. I think it was might have been a month or two later, we had the Mexican gunman on one, if you remember that one, Penny.
The Mexican gunman?
Yeah, it was a bloke, I think I think he might have been out on the beer or something like that, dressed as a Mexican with fake guns and put the island on lockdown on Warney.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think I was just I was just touching on. Yeah, it was sort of you mentioning the sort of that was the social media stir up there rather than sort of thing there. But yeah, I'm sure that wasn't much later than that.
Yeah, I mean, and just going on to the game. It was great. I think was potentially 4,000 or 5,000 people in the recreation who had travelled from everywhere. You know what I mean? You remember looking around and there was Hull shirts and Wigan shirts and speaking to people and where have you come from and where have you come from? And there wasn't just Cumbrians that come out that day. The rugby league community, as it always does, the rugby league family come out on that day and a great afternoon. And the amateur at the time who later played for Whitehaven, John Paul Bracklebank, he was the only amateur involved on the day, but at the time was the best amateur standoff in the country by a country mile. One of the best amateur players in the country. He played for Cumbria that day and scored one of the tries. So yeah, it was a great occasion. Thousands of people packed into the recreation. And it was a shame that so soon after that we didn't see a Cumbria game for so long. It was Cumbria played England Knights at Whitehaven the year after, and I don't think the uptake was quite as much as the potential might have been. I think 1,800 people there. And it sort of that stopped Cumbria for a while. Obviously, there was some in the Nines, wasn't there? Obviously, the Nines where all sort of three Cumbrian clubs had come together and won the Nines. The Cumbria Devil Goats, I remember it was going around sort of like the Brett Carters and such things like that of this world going across on social media. But it was such a shame that we weren't able to see Cumbria build on the back of that, really. Obviously, build out of what was a tragic event, that weren't able to continue doing some good with that in terms of an annual memorial game against whether like what doing now, whether it be a Jamaica or a Wales or whatever it may be. But no, it was a great occasion, and it's somehow over 14 years ago. It seems like yesterday.
So I'm going to have to move on now. Penny, have we got another bit of trivia?
As it happens, no, we've run out of questions, and he's well, I say no. My guy hasn't sent me any, but I've just had to think of one then. When Jordan was trying to make
Kangaroo caught him. Kangaroo caught him. Kangaroo caught him.
I've got a question.
You can do it next week.
I've got a question. I'm just saying, I've just come up with one then, as Jordan was giving us the fields, that's all. Do you want it?
Is this going to be the first legitimate bit of dance trivia then, where you've not sort of nicked it off Steve Andrews, not?
No, it's not. No, you'll. It's a very simple question. Probably one that Becca might get this time. Bless her. Who's the most recent player to complete the Cumbrian Tri-Series? Who's the most recent player to sign for Barrow, Whitehaven, Workington?
Didn't we just give that answer away last week?
No.
No, so are we talking players who haven't played yet? For example, then, so Rio, who signed for Workington, doesn't count yet because he hasn't played for Workington. or have I just given it? I think I might have just given it away. Well, that's what I wanted to double check.
Yeah.
When you said you give it away last week, we mentioned it. We mentioned it on the podcast last week. So yes, we did give it away last week.
He's shaking his head that we didn't.
And did you want to wrap up?
No, I just want to see him fume.
Penny, do you want to change your kangaroo court?
I don't want to talk to any ears.
Got any more trivia, mate? That's
No,
happened
piss
in the
off.
Oh, well, on that great note.
Hold on. I'll bring one up then. I'll bring
Go
one
on
up.
then, yeah,
I'll
go
do a
on.
Jordan's trivia. So I've just mentioned it there. One that come off the top of my head. When Cumbria won the Rugby League Nines 10 or so years ago, who did they beat in the final? Go on, we'll have that this week. So you can bring that up. So when Cumbria won the Rugby League Nines at Headingley, which side did they beat in the final? And we'll see if we'll get any answers from that this week.
Great question, Jordan. Thank you for propping up that feature that Penny half-assed after throwing a massive bitch fit. and then absolutely drops a knacker on it.
And then I sort of ruined it as well, so sorry.
Well, no, he ruined it by literally we just did the answer on. It came out Friday, so what was that? 3 days ago as we're recording now. Well, just no. Piss poor preparation makes piss poor performance, Penny. You can remember that one.
An extra bonus point for anyone that gets the right score as well, without Googling.
Oof. Is that as done?
Yeah, I think that's us done, mate.
No, thank you for listening.
Catch you next week, guys.
Bye.